Did you know that psychologists think that negative voices are remnants of our childhood? As a child, for example, fear and discipline preside over our actions, predominantly from our parents or caregivers, as a way of surviving or protecting us. Don't do this, you can't do that, be careful. But unfortunately, they continue to crop up into adulthood, dissociated from the events that they were designed to help us from initially. How fascinating. So even though as adults we become more independent, assertive, and able to critically think, we find it hard to walk away from these unwritten rules and we internalize them. I'm Dr. Candy, a GP and a mum to two. I focus on little actions that make a big difference to your overall health and wellness. So today I wanted to discuss and think of ways to improve that negative voice in our head that we all experience from time to time. For some, it may be really mild and just crop up in certain situations, for example, imposter syndrome. But for others, it can be that chronic negative voice that can be really debilitating, where you just don't feel like you're good enough and you constantly question and doubt yourself, just in everyday life. I guess the good news is that it's totally normal to have that voice, and just because it's there doesn't mean that there aren't ways to get rid of it or dampen it down, let's say. Like with everything, it's all about conditioning. So I wanted to share with you my top 5 ways to calm that negative voice. Remember, those negative voices are not the truth. Don't allow yourself to believe that they are. My belief is that, simply stated, the only thing that separates one successful man, however you define success, from another is their level of self-belief. Firstly, acknowledge. Don't accept, acknowledge. Sometimes it can be so much a part of who you are at first, you don't even recognize it as, alien to you. Most people try and ignore these negative thoughts, brush it away without really understanding where it's coming from. We always think we can outsmart our subconscious, but it always wins. So instead, we need to train it, and the first way we do that is by acknowledging it exists. Some people write down these negative thoughts. Personally, I just like to check them when they occur. I'll be like, sorry, what? Candy, why don't you think you can do this right now? So once you've acknowledged the thought, try and follow it until you get some real answers. Again, it can be so easy to accept these as truths, as gospels, that you don't even realize that there are actual ways that you can address them that allow you to carry about meaningful action and change. For example, when I had a negative thought about learning the piano, it was like, you can't learn the piano. Why? Because you don't have the skill set. Why? Because it takes time and you're in your 30s and you can't start again. Why? Because you don't have the time. Why? Because you're too busy. And then I decided to change it, and is this something you really want to do? Yes. Why? Because I want to develop this skill set and I want to be an example to my children. And the best way, is to make the time. Can you do that? Yeah, I can. Piano in the background. Thirdly, we all need to be kinder to ourselves. We can be pretty harsh critics, don't you think? But actually, like with children, they are more likely to conform and change when you're kinder and more nurturing and more loving towards them. So let's reframe these negative thoughts and just be kinder to ourselves. For example, my body's not the same as it used to be. So if I ever catch myself saying horrible things, I try and combat it with either it could be worse, or babe, you've carried 2 children, be easy. Or I pair it with a positive, like, okay, maybe you might not like your body right now, but I have the power to turn it around. So respect and love yourself a little bit more, a lot more, please. The thing about negative thoughts are that you can give them so much power when you keep them to yourself. The most disempowering thing you can do for them is to share them with someone else. You know why? Someone who cares for you specifically, because they will immediately negate that thought in an instant. What? What are you talking about? Of course you can, said every good friend ever. But seriously, even if your friends don't always completely disempower the thoughts, they do open you up to different ways of thinking, different ways of aiding decision making, adding in new dimensions, new things that you may not have thought about, overcoming barriers and challenges. It's really important to share it. Now, my absolute favorite thing to do, since I read it in a book last year, is name that negative thought. Not even just a name, get a whole description for her and everything. Yeah, mine's a her. She's about 5'5" with fuzzy ginger hair with black streaks in it, and she's got dark freckles around her nose, and her smile is like really striking, but it's not perfect. Her name is Delilah, don't ask, and sorry to any Delilahs out there, and she's just as annoying as she sounds in my head. So whenever she talks, you might find me saying out loud, "Stop it, Delilah." I will never let Delilah be the driver in my decision making. And when I tell you, I've wanted to start this channel for so long, and Delilah was the one who was stopping me, giving me every excuse under the sun. But I can honestly say, since I got my GP title in October, there hasn't been anything I haven't put my mind to and done. So I hope that's been really helpful for you. Thank you so much for listening, and be sure to subscribe and follow to little actions that make a big difference to your overall health and wellness on Life of Dr. Candy.